You've probably seen this scene before. As soon as food arrives at a restaurant or cafe, someone inevitably says, "Don't reach over the table and mess things up." Or, "Let's take a photo first, then start eating." It doesn't matter if you're sitting with friends, family, or even coworkers. This is a situation that happens in modern society every day. It's especially common among people who feel a strong need for external validation. Those who rarely share their photos often seem, at first glance, like they might be insecure, private, or simply not interested in being the center of attention. But psychology shows that this is a very superficial way of looking at things. People who rarely post pictures aren't just different, they think differently. Their brains process validation, privacy, and social energy in a completely different way. They're not hiding, they're just selective about who sees them. And once you truly understand their mindset, it becomes clear that not sharing isn't a weakness. It's a form of psychological strength. So, if you never post your photos online, that actually makes you a fascinating person. While others spend time taking dozens of versions of the same selfie to find the perfect one, you simply don't waste time on that. Those who post constantly have their own reasons. Maybe they feel others need to know where they are, what they're eating or drinking, which places they're visiting, who they're with, and so on. But what is the real psychology behind people who don't share their pictures? Let's try to understand it. Most people who post on social media are, on some level, sending the same message. Look, I'm here. See me. Validate me. The psychological mechanism behind these words is simple. People measure their self-worth through the reactions of others. When they receive a like, they feel elevated, valuable. When they don't, a small but noticeable emptiness forms inside. Every like, every comment creates waves in their inner world, and over time, this habit of measuring self-confidence through external validation takes root. But people who rarely share photos aren't caught in this cycle. They don't measure their value by numbers on a screen. They don't rate themselves by likes or follower counts. Instead, they find who they are within themselves, not in the gaze of others. For them, the answer to "who am I" does not depend on approval from outside. Their confidence isn't built to impress. They aren't trying to prove anything, and they aren't playing a role. They simply exist consciously. They don't need an audience, likes, or digital attention to affirm themselves. Their worth is quiet, invisible, and enduring, perhaps unnoticed by others, but strong and unshakable from within. It's important to realize that every photo shared on social media isn't just a moment. Each image carries, often unintentionally, a load of information for others. A person's mood, relationships, location, pleasures, and lifestyle. In a silent way, every post says, "This is how you should think about me." People who rarely share photos understand this on a deeper level. They know that the more people see something, the faster and harsher the judgments become. And these judgments are often based not on reality, but on assumptions. One photo might make someone seem happy, another successful, and yet another strong or weak. Social media audiences are diverse. Some know you, some don't. People have different tastes, perspectives, and experiences. The more others judge you, the less control you have over telling your own story. Others begin speaking for you, making decisions without truly knowing you, even freezing you in a single frame. This isn't just about visibility, it's about losing control over your own narrative. That's why people who don't post photos aren't hiding. They're simply choosing to stay in the driver's seat of their own lives. They decide for themselves who sees what and what they know. This isn't fear. It's conscious, deliberate control. They understand that not every visibility brings freedom. Sometimes being less visible is the strongest way to keep something for yourself, to protect your inner boundaries, and to preserve your authenticity. Standing firm in silence, in invisibility, within your own inner world, that is true freedom. Now, let's highlight one of the most interesting and impactful aspects of social media. It's not just a communication platform, it's essentially a massive stage. Every post, story, and comment is like a performance in front of invisible cameras. On this virtual stage, everyone is both actor and audience, and this constant sense of being watched fundamentally changes how people behave. Think about it. Do you behave on social media the same way you do in real life? For most people, the answer is no. On social media, you feel thousands or even millions of eyes on you, and that feeling transforms you to appear more flawless, more interesting, more successful, and above all, more likable. People often, sometimes without even realizing it, present themselves differently, filter their reality, and sometimes hide their true identity entirely. Even the most ordinary moments of life are turned into aesthetic snapshots, emotions are edited, and sincerity is sometimes exaggerated. In psychology, this is called the audience effect, the conscious or unconscious change of our behavior, words, and even thoughts based on how we think others see us. It's like living under a light that never goes out, and that light can either illuminate you or cast your true self in shadow. But people who rarely share photos are aware of this game. They don't feel the need to join the performance. They don't turn their lives into a stage for others to watch. Smiling for invisible spectators, showing off happiness, or creating an ideal image is not important to them. For them, authenticity is more valuable than approval. They understand that the more we shape ourselves according to how others see us, the more we gradually lose our true identity. First, our actions change, then our thoughts, and eventually the answer to the question, "Who am I?" becomes blurred. These people step back to protect themselves. But this withdrawal isn't shyness or weakness. It's a conscious choice to avoid losing themselves. Instead of playing a role, they choose to remain quietly and firmly true to who they are. In fact, this is one of the hardest and most valuable things anyone can do. To be yourself without needing anyone else's validation. Another trait of those who avoid sharing is that they don't compete for attention. They don't engage in social media's games of who got the most likes or who gained the most followers. Instead, they observe calmly, analyze, and understand. On social media, everyone sends a message through their posts. Some share to impress, some to fill a void, and some to hide their pain behind a smile. People who rarely share photos sense and understand this deeply. They see why people post, and they can read the motivations and behaviors of others with remarkable depth. From the outside, they may seem quiet and calm, but mentally, they are highly active. Their attention isn't on the surface, it's on patterns. They observe people's behaviors, energy flows, subtle emotional cues, gestures, and facial expressions. Every detail is a clue, every pattern a lesson. These people are not enslaved by the reactions or approval of others. They stand strong as internal observers. They are quiet yet all-seeing, silent yet understanding everything. Every moment of silence is a lesson, an analysis, and a source of inner strength. Recent psychological research shows that every like and comment on social media activates a chemical in the brain called dopamine, the so-called happiness hormone. This instant pleasure feels good, but it also creates dependency. People begin to tie their self-worth to others' reactions, measuring themselves through external approval. Every like, every comment becomes a kind of external score, and people start judging themselves by these numbers. But people who rarely share photos understand this mechanism on a deeper level. They choose long-term calm and inner stability over instant, fleeting pleasure and momentary attention. External validation, digital likes, and comments do not control their emotional state. They protect their inner strength and happiness as a treasure that is not in anyone else's hands. For them, oversharing often has the opposite effect. When everything is shared, nothing feels special. Every detail loses its significance. Psychology calls this the law of diminishing returns applied to personal information. Those who are private and selective, on the other hand, create scarcity. By keeping everyday details hidden and sharing only meaningful, trusted moments, what they do share carries real value and delivers a genuine message. They prioritize depth, meaning, and authentic connections over superficial and widespread visibility. Instead of creating moments just for the audience, they protect their inner world, directing their attention and energy only to those who truly matter. In this way, their silence and choice become a clear expression of psychological strength, inner stability, and profound awareness, All of this shows that people who don't post photos are not behind the times. They are fully capable of keeping up with the world, but their silence is not emptiness. It is a conscious choice. Overall, these individuals are neither better nor worse than those who share. They simply manage their identity in the digital world differently. Some express themselves by sharing, while others do so by staying private. Both approaches are valid and have their own benefits. But the real question is, when you post, are you just sharing a moment? Or are you seeking proof that this moment has value and meaning? People who don't share don't question the worth of their lives. They already know that the value of each moment is not dependent on others' approval. So, which are you? Someone who measures every moment by others' validation, or someone who remains calm, centered, and self-aware? Be honest and share your thoughts in the comments. There's no judgment here, only awareness and understanding. If you want to reevaluate your perspective on life and your daily behavior, subscribe to our channel. Here, we don't just study the human mind. We explore behavior, choices, and inner strength through a philosophical lens, inspiring you to understand your life and worldview on a deeper level.